Hello YouTube, who's your archer? In this edition of Sunday Stump, I'm going to talk about why I got posted so late to start out with. Had a lot of problems making this video. Most of them had to do with duration. I kept finding that I would look up and I had talked for 20 minutes, and I by no means wanted a 20-minute video. For one thing, that would take the majority of the night to upload. So, uh, but also today was plagued with a little bit of misfortune. Um, the first bit of misfortune was the fact that I kept having trouble with this video. Either something would happen with the camera, or I would look and it would be 25 minutes long, and I just didn't think the content deserved that much time. And the second thing that happened was when I was getting ready to leave work tonight, my phone fell, and when it fell, it jerked the earbud cord, and the male plug that goes into the phone twisted, and that caused it to break. So the very expensive earbuds that came with my Note 8 are kaput. I'm going to go to the store that I got it at and see if they can fix it. If they can't fix it, I suppose I'll put in an order for some replacements, because these were the best earbuds I had ever used. Sound quality was amazing. Call quality was amazing with them. The mic is good. And like that. Anyway, speaking of the phone, if you have a smartphone and you have done a recent system update, there is a possibility that when you turn your phone off, possibly to restart it, or if you're like me and you have to turn it off at work, when you turn it back on, the time date setting could auto default to a date in the future, such as mine did, August 1st at 1:45 a.m. I have no idea why it was doing that, but it's still doing it, and I found that when it does that, I have connectivity issues. I can still make calls, but I can't do anything that requires a data, like Wi-Fi or like internet access. It says check your internet, so I have to check that. And if that's off, then I reset to the proper date and time, and then my connectivity works. So if you turn your phone back on and suddenly don't have connectivity, check that. Just a heads up. Okay, for on the lighter side of things, I'll tell you a couple of witticisms that I came up with in the course of my life, and that I use in company meetings a lot, and you are free to use these in your own company meetings if you're inclined. Almost invariably in any company meeting, one manager or another will say, "Remember, there's no I in team." And I will undoubtedly pipe up with, "But there are two in idiot," which gets a smattering of laughter even from the presenter. Okay, and also, if you're at a meeting and they're having you do some kind of questionnaire or something, and it's just becoming intolerably boring, mumble this. This is particularly good for, this is good for men or women. I believe it's even funnier if a woman says it. But mumble it succinctly enough that the people around you can actually hear what you say, and just loud enough for the people around you to hear you say it. But what you mumble is, I shaved my back for this. Uh, the best response I've had from that was the people directly around me all kind of a starter laugh, weren't expecting to hear something funny, so it kind of surprised them and they laughed. And then a nervous laugh rippled through the entire auditorium, which some people didn't even know what they were laughing at. But that just goes to show that laughter, like most diseases, is contagious. Not to say laughter is a disease, but it is contagious. Now, the last thing that I'll tell you is the strangest thing you'll probably ever hear me say. But that's the nature of something that is purposely surreal. When I was in college, and it was right after the last final exams for my first bachelor's degree, we had a guest speaker at our university. That guest speaker was Salvador Dali. Salvador Dali is a surrealist painter and known for his wit and his somewhat bizarre wit at that. And while I was waiting in a small line, I was one of a few, because I am fairly articulate, and was even better back then, because I was full of the zeal of youth. I was one of the 10 or so students that were handpicked by a professor to meet Salvador Dali. And I was introduced, Monsieur Dali, je suis, I said, je suis Curtis Cardinal. And he says, bonjour, and he shook my hand. I said, care to hear a surreal riddle? Now, this was almost extemporaneous. I had thought about this waiting in line, but it came completely to fruition right there in front of him. And he lifted an eyebrow and did this with his mustache, and he smiled at me, and he leaned forward a little bit. And I said, what is the difference between an orange? And he blinked, and I said, a moose, because a vest doesn't have sleeves. And a broad smile crossed his face, and he literally chortled. Shook my hand again, patted me on the shoulder, and I was the last one for him to see that day, and he turned on his heel and he walked away. But as he walked away, he turned and looked back at me and smiled again. So I have found that when you tell somebody this surreal riddle, if they are highly intelligent, they will actually get it. And if they're well read, they will actually get the point that this is a surreal riddle. It's not supposed to make sense. It's a whole bunch of non sequiturs stuck together. It's right up there with if you have one chicken that lays an egg every day and another chicken that lays an egg every other day, how long will it take a monkey with a wooden leg to kick the seeds out of a dill pickle? Okay, fact, supposition, non sequitur question. Okay, that's where the humor is. I'm not trying to, oh my God, I'm explaining jokes. You're not supposed to do that. But therein lies the rub. Rub, 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 rub. Oh, somebody asked me about the oxymoronic superstitious Vulcan hand gesture. And can I do that? Just do that. And there you go. You see, I can just cross both. Actually, the first time I did this, a friend of mine said, "Cross your fingers for me," and I went, "You got it." And he did like that. And he looked at his hand, and he had to actually do that, you know. Couldn't even cross these fingers. But I do have some dexterity in my digits, but not enough to play a musical instrument, unfortunately. I beg your pardon. Pardon. Un momento, por favor. Cool and refreshing. Not to mention wet. Oh, tried something different with this today. Instead of one 1-gallon Ziploc bag with ice and water, 2 1-quarts to give it some more flexibility to wrap around. Seems to be working well. So always reevaluate those little inventions that you come up with and see how you can make them better. That, you know, because you'll surprise yourself. You can, if you constantly keep looking at the ideas you have and looking for ways to make them better, eventually you'll have something that's really worth putting the effort into. And I think that this, especially in this high heat and humidity time that we are having right now, this has been just made life bearable. Walk to work like this today, 95 degrees with 95% humidity, and sometimes the breeze would just flat die. And this kept me from having kept me from being miserable by a good, I was actually fairly fine walking in the bright sunlight and the heat and humidity. This kept me, I actually had these around in front, right on the carotid and jugular on both sides, and they kept the blood going into my brain cooled down, and I didn't get, and it sincerely helped. And the fact that I did it with this orange that's kind of reflected the light and didn't absorb, I maintained ice all the way to work. So that, the 15 to 20 minute walk. And if you ask me why I always give that 5-minute range for the walk, even though the distance doesn't change, the ability to cross streets at traffic lights is what changes the amount of time. Just to let you know. Uh-oh, Skeeter. See if I can find that guy again. Actually, that gal again. I shall make her kaput if I can. Let me think. Oh yeah, here's the last little thing. We'll try to get this in at 15 minutes. I am going to do a subscriber appreciation giveaway in the next week or so. I'm not doing this to grow my channel anymore necessarily. I'm just doing it to say thank you for all. I'm just so grateful for all the new subscribers and all the people that are actually actively looking at my videos and commenting that have just become new subscribers, and they're being very active and very supportive. To say thank you to all you people, I'm going to be doing another giveaway. There's going to be a couple of things that'll have to happen with this giveaway, however. I'm giving away a knife, so you'll have to be 18 years of age at minimum, and you'll have to live in the contiguous United States. I don't think I can send this knife to Canada, and I don't think I can send this knife to the UK, and I don't even think I can send this knife to California, but I'm not sure. You will see the knife, and if you live in California, if you live in a state where you don't think this knife would be legal, you can tell me that. Anyway, that video will be coming up in the next week or so. God bless. happy trails, and watch your top knot. And I hope you all know what these all mean.